Yeah, and it's cool to hear Russell Wilson talk about a win after a game like that. And it was another wild week around the league. We've got one more to go tonight, of course. But who do you think had the most impressive win on Sunday, Jason?
I'm going to stay right there in that game. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. I don't think there were many people that were expecting them to win that game. You're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, and I know Mahomes is questionable later in the week with the flu-type symptoms and all of that. But I think even when that was announced, everybody was kind of fired up like, wow, we're going to get to see a Jordan Mahomes-type flu game, and he's going to go out there and absolutely ball. And this Broncos team, they just played really well in this game. Russell Wilson didn't throw a ton of passes, but had 3 in the air for touchdowns, finding Jerry Jeudy, who kind of came alive. And the defense, they were all over Mahomes, sacked fumbles, had interceptions. They made plays on special teams. I was just impressed by the way they were able to come out and win this game. Talked about Vance Joseph earlier in the show as a defensive coordinator. Coming up with a plan to really limit this Chiefs offense. For the second time, they only gave up 19 points earlier in the season to this offense, and they did it yesterday, only giving up 9 points. And I take this as my most impressive win because look at the streaks and stuff that ended with this loss that the Kansas City Chiefs took yesterday. And obviously you have for the Broncos, there was a ton of games, 16 straight won against them, but then just other things for the Kansas City Chiefs that snapped in that game, as you see them right there on the full screen. This is a huge win for the Denver Broncos where it hasn't been a ton that's gone right for them this year. You bring Sean Payton in, and he's able to get this win that this organization hasn't been able to come across in a long time. So shout out and a huge congrats to the Broncos winning that one.
Patrick Mahomes has 2 Super Bowl victories. Yesterday was his first loss on the road against a division opponent.
Crazy.
Is that not insane? So that is some history that was broken right there. I go to another team in the AFC, maybe the team that we're going to be seeing the Chiefs face off for a Super Bowl berth, because that's what the case was the last 2 years. I look at the Bengals. I think the Bengals made a statement yesterday. I think it matters when Nance and Romo are on the call, or when you have Olsen and Burkhardt. When those number 1 teams are assigned, it feels like that's the national game. And everyone got to see what this Bengals team could be. And this is this team that we thought they were going to be this year. Burrow looks healthy. 28 of 32, was carving up a really good 49ers defense. And then Lou Anarumo's defense, I can't say enough about this morning. I thought they made the Brock Purdy 49ers look like they were a mediocre offense at best. And that included Christian McCaffrey running and passing and doing all that stuff. Bengals look complete. Special teams were good. Offense was great. Defense was great. And they did this on the road. Like, they went and they traveled and they did it on the road. They packed their bags, said, we got to start doing some things here. Bengals have a really tough slate coming up. I have no doubt that they can get all those games and they can win all those games. If Cincinnati plays this way, we will be talking about them in late January and potentially even February.
I have to agree. Look, the Chiefs lost yesterday. I think we can all agree they're still kind of the standard in the AFC. They're Super Bowl champs. I think if you were to take Andy Reid to Cheeseburger in Paradise, and you get some sliders, and you would get him a giant souvenir glass of truth serum, and he puts that down. You're like, Andy, who do you least want to see in the playoffs? I don't think he's saying Baltimore, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, I think he's saying Cincinnati. I really do. There's something different about those 2 teams when they match up. Not only a couple years ago when the Bengals won there in Arrowhead, knowing that you can do that. Last year's game in the playoffs was very strange. Very strange. Let me say it one more time. Very strange. There was some officiating topics that came up. Whatever. The Chiefs won. The point is, I don't think the Bengals even blink an eye when they go against Mahomes, Reed, Kelsey, anybody. I think they're the team that if he was all drunk on the truth serum, Andy would say anybody but Cincinnati. They had him down and out. You get those Bengals down early. They're not good at starting seasons. There's always something weird that happens with Burrow, and they lose a bunch of games early. Second year in a row, they started 3-3. Last year, they reel off a 9-1 streak after starting 3-3. You have to keep them down. They're 4-3. They're right there. I don't care if they're 0-2 in the division. They're Burrow, Chase, Hendrickson, all these guys on defense playing their asses off right now. I think they had the most impressive win because it was we are alive out of the bye, and you forgot about us. We're going to terrorize the league kind of win.
The 49ers might be saying that about Seattle down the stretch.
That was good.
Anybody but Seattle. Seattle had a very strange game yesterday. In the Seattle Times, the reporter Bob Condados opens his article with the vintage, the throwbacks. The Seahawks were trying to play like they had the throwbacks because it was 58 minutes of ugly football, and then they wanted to be a disappointing, but then they weren't, and they were able to seal the deal. Seahawks scored early, and then they scored late, and a Julian Love interception set this drive up with just under 2 minutes to play. Now, this is the final 45 seconds or so, but Geno Smith was cooking. Despite nothing else the Seahawks could do in this afternoon, this final drive was so impressive. He finds DK Metcalf on this final touchdown pass, though, to Jackson Smith-Njigba, the rookie. DK Metcalf throws a block that sets up JSN to open it up here on the bottom. There he is, finds the pocket on the left side. That's awesome. That's awesome, Seahawks. And now look at how the West sits. Here we go. Seahawks play the 49ers still twice this season. You're looking at a Thanksgiving special, Seahawks 49ers, and then 2 weeks later, Seahawks mess around and have one of those weird back-to-back Thursday weeks in late November, the 23rd and the 30th, and they have an extended bye, if you will, and then they play the 49ers again. So twice in 3 weeks, we are going to find the answer, perhaps, at the top of the NFC West.
To your point, I mentioned it earlier, wake up this morning and you look at like the playoff picture, and it's always still a little too early. Seahawks are the 2 seed, meaning they would have a home playoff game, meaning they would have another home playoff game, and if that was how it would be going down, I don't think many people had that before the season, and yet you're not that surprised. Their defense is loaded, their offense is loaded, and Geno gets the job done.
And speaking of the NFC playoff picture, that those 2 of 3 games, the meat of the sandwich there is the Cowboys. That's who they play in the middle there, which is even more. Yeah, we'll absolutely know.